Hello guys, welcome to CloudBuy. In today's sessions, I'm going to discuss the import data procedure from S3 to Amazon Redshift using Amazon Glue. Well, this is the overall Glue ETL process diagram. So I'll be discussing each and every points and also showing in my demo. So this is the first. You can see the data stores. So data store is kind of a source. Data store here. So data store could be multiple stuffs. It could be a S3 bucket. It could be a RDS database, and it could be also DynamoDB. In today's sessions, I'm going to use S3 bucket as my data store. And thereafter, there is you can see the crawler. There is something called crawler. Crawler is kind of a process which connects to the data stores, and then it can there is something called its progresses through a priority list of classifiers, and it is determine the schema of the data stores in the data stores, and creates some metadata tables in the data catalogs. Now the question is what is data catalog? Data catalog, in data catalog, it contains the reference of a data from both the source and the targets of the ETL jobs which we are running in the Glue. Typically, when we are running a crawler to take inventory of our data, and so it's kind of a reference. Note that data catalogs, the actual data never stores in the data catalogs. The actual data stores in the data stores in our case is S3 bucket. So only the reference is stored in the data catalogs. And I'm also going to discuss about the transformations. I'll be discussing in my first video. I'm going to discuss about the built-in transform scripts, and in my second video I'm going to discuss about a little bit advanced how we can edit the transform script, and you can join some two tables. And also I'm going to discuss about the load process, how we can run a ETL jobs, what are the parameters you can provide for the ETL jobs, and what are the logs that there, what kind of logs is going to create, and how you can check the errors from the logs. And at the end, then we also going to check that the data targets, in our case it's Redshift, so we are going to check also that what is the data is being copied or being imported to the target. Well, these are the detailed steps I'm going to discuss today. At the beginning, I'll be creating a source S3 bucket and put a CSV files with some sample data. Thereafter, we'll be setting up the environment to access the data stores. You know that Glue has to access the two data stores here. The first one will be the source data store, that will be a S3. So it will be required to access the data stores. It requires a VPC endpoints for the S3. And for the next point, Glue also access to the JDBC data store. For us, it is the target data stores is Redshifts. So we also need to create VPC connect to the JDBC data stores, and then I am going to create the Glue crawlers to fetch the metadata into the data catalogs, and thereafter we are going to create the Amazon Redshift clusters using this the VPC and VPC, and also the security groups I'm going to create at the VPC sections. Then we're going to create this JDBC connections, and I'm going to test the JDBC connections, and thereafter I'm going to initiate this ETL jobs and discuss about the various stages of the ETL jobs. Well, so let's begin to create with the source S3 bucket. Okay, I'm going to S3. I already created a bucket called CloudBuy, and I already put a sample CSV file. If I open this CSV, you can see this is only having 4 columns: name, age, address, and birthday. So at the beginning, I'm going to import this data to Redshift. This part is done. The next part, I'm going to discuss about this the VPC endpoints and the JDBC and the VPC setups. Mostly the security group setups are required, and what are the security groups rules will be required for the Glue to access this JDBC data store, that is our Redshift. So if I'll go for the VPC endpoint first, we have to create an endpoint for our VPC. So I'll go to the VPC. I got a default VPC. I'm going to use the VPC itself. So I already having an endpoints here. So let me delete the endpoint, and I'll discuss how to create an endpoint and how we can set up these things. Okay, so I am having one default VPC, and at first I'm going to create a S3 endpoints. So I'll create an endpoint, then create endpoint, and I'll search as S3. This is the S3. This is the gateway type. Okay, I'm having one single VPC. So the route tables, I'm selecting the route tables. There are 6 subnets are there, and I'm giving the full access. Okay, so create endpoints. Okay, now if I'll go to the route tables of my VPC, you can see that already this endpoints route is already originated here. So I have already created the VPC endpoints, and let's discuss the second point. The second point is here. We have to setting up the VPC to connect this JDBC data stores. To do that, I'll be creating a separate security groups, and I'll attach with this my VPC, and I also do some kind of inbound rules for my security groups. So that will enable Glue to connect our target Redshift database through JDBC. So I'm going to security groups. Okay, I'm going to create as security groups. Let's put the security groups as a S3 to Redshift. I'm copying the same for that, sorry, S3 to Redshift. I'm copying the same here. I am having the VPC. So at the beginning, since it will be a Redshift database, so I know the port will be 5439. I'm putting a source as all. Okay, so this is the rule. Inbound rule I'm going to create at the beginning. Once the inbound rule is created, then I'm going to discuss about another rule we'll be requiring. This rule is called self-reference rule. Self-reference rule is that now we can restrict the source to the same security groups in the VPC and not open to all networks. So this will be required, otherwise Glue cannot connect to the Redshift JDBC. This will be the default security group for the VPC. Maybe for the this might already have a self-referencing inbound rules, but we're going to create it. Okay, so I know that this is my security groups ID, so I'm copying the security groups ID. Now I'll be edit this inbound rules again. Now this time I'll be putting this all TCP, and I'll be pasting this one, my own security group itself. This is called self-referencing rules, as I discussed. So this will be required for Glue to connect this Redshift JDBC connection. So save rules. So as you can see that I am already having the 2 inbound rules. One inbound route for my 5439 port is Redshift. The another is the self-referencing rule as required for connecting the VPC, setting up the VPC connect to the JDBC data stores. Now in the next steps, I'm going to now create the AWS Glue crawlers. Now let's create a crawler. So I'm adding a crawler name from S3, and then it will be a data stores. So the data store type is S3. Connection is mostly required for the JDBC type. It is something optional for S3 target, is not required. Crawler data in is specified path in my account. Yeah, we can also choose another account, but for me it's my account only. So I'm choosing this I'm choosing this CSV files. Okay, next. Now I'm going to create a new role. For this case we will be required a role, so it is something on the Glue service roles. Let me create a, say about import to S3 to Redshift. Next, frequency. There is a different kind of frequency. The run on demand, that means if you can run voluntarily, like otherwise you can also schedule this thing. Schedules works whenever you are supposed to receive this this input data from different data sources. If your vendor is sending this S3 files periodically, so you can schedule it here. For me, it's I'm good with run on demand. We have to create one database. Let me create a database. Database, say about test. Okay. Like next database, where this the crawler will create the metadata of the tables of the metadata from the source. So the database will be on test. So click next. Now finish. It's now ready. That I'll choose this crawler and run crawler. So it might take a couple of minutes here. Let me pause the video and I'll come back once it's done. Well, now you can see this my crawler is already stopping. That means I'll go to the tables and I can see this the student CSV, that the name of the my S3 my CSV files, the table is created. So let me click here. I can see this this is the schema, like this is the columns it is taken from there, and the column name, data types. So if I first I'll show you something. First I'll go to the edit the table. So this is the table name, this is the input format, this is the output format, and there is a whole bunch of stuffs. What is the key value things. Another thing we can do it here, that we can put a properties, add a properties on this table. So the properties name is something, and skip the header line, so that we can tell this thing that we are having a header of this table. So this is something called skip header dot line dot count is we'll put as a 1, because this is 1 only. Skip dot header dot line dot count. Okay. Now if I go to the view properties, the view properties is a JSON file which having these properties. It's having this, what is the size of the things, what kind of file it is there. Also it is also having this the object count, and then the row count, record count. So and also what are the columns, everything is there. So another thing is that is important, that sometimes what this crawler is to do, that it will check this CSV file, and it will try to analyze what is the column names, what is the data types, and then it will store this reference into this data catalog. Now you can see this, most of the times Glue is correct, but it's having some problem with this data type. Like you can see that the birthday should be a date, it is mentioned as a string, so I have to change these stuffs. So I'll go to the edit schema. Now I can remove some of the columns if I don't think the columns will be required. I can do that. Another things, what happens that we have to also check the column orders is match. The name is not name is not important. You can change the name, but the order has to match. So this times what I'm doing that I'll be changing this to date. Okay. Age is also we can change. It's now is bright. We can change to some say integer. Okay, then save. So what we did, we check this, we edit the table, we add one properties of the table is called skip header line count, and we say this is 1. Then we view the properties, we see this the properties is a JSON file which is having the number of rows, what kind of columns are there, what is the size, and all these things. Then we edit the schema, as we said that sometimes the group crawler could not determine the data types. So if you feel that your data type is not correct, you can change the things. I already changed from birthday, it was string, I put a date, and age, it was something different, I'll put in the integer. Okay, so on the next steps, now I'm going to create my Amazon Redshift cluster. Well, now my Redshift cluster is available, so I'll go to the Redshift clusters and I'll connect through the editor. Okay, I'll go to this my public schema. Okay, now I'm going to create these steps. I'm going to create a table at my Redshift target Redshift schema. These tables that will be imported. Okay, now go back to my detailed steps. Now the next steps, I'm going to create a JDBC connections for Glue, AWS Glue to connect to this Redshift. So I'll go back to the console and go back to the Glue console. Now I'll go to the connections, add connection. Say connection name is Redshift. Connection type. Okay, this is a good thing is that I can choose either of the JDBC or the Redshifts. If you choose the JDBC, you have to put this the JDBC URL from Redshift. But if I'll if I'll choose Amazon Redshift, so it will be a drop down only. So another thing is that the drop down will only comes if you do your the steps, the prerequisite steps like like the VPC connections and the proper security groups and the self-referencing rule, then only it will come, otherwise it won't come. So only you have to put your passwords. So next, finish. Okay, now I'll select these connections and the test connections. I have to choose IAM role. This is my IAM role, test connections. Sometimes this connection takes some time, so it may take a couple of minutes. So I'm pausing the video right now and I'll come back once it's done. Thank you. Now you can see this Redshift connections successfully done. So the next steps, I'm going to create the crawler for my target. Let's the name as a to Redshift. Okay. Okay, this should be the JDBC. I already have these connections I already made. The include path is you have to put the database / schema / tables, or the database is testdb, schema is public. You already having one single table. I can put as a either the table name or the percentage. Let me put that, since I am only having a single table, let me put the table name student. Okay, you can put some exclude patterns like the table name. If you put a percentage, and then if you want to exclude some of the tables, you can do that. I don't have such things. So next, no, I'm role, I'm just taking this I'm role. Next, frequency run on demand. Next, already having a database called test. Next, finish. So I'll be creating this, I'll be running the crawler now. So it's gonna take a couple of minutes, so I'll come back once it's done. Well, now you can see that this Redshift crawler is now stopping. So if I'll go to the tables, I can see that I got a table. There is a database schema dot table name. So if I'll click the table, here I can see this the details has comes. This is but here it's most of the things that looks good. The birthday is date, name is string integer. Okay, if I'll go to the edit table, everything looks good. So this is the view properties. As I said, this is the properties in JSON. So here the column name, the other details. So now I'll go back. My next step, so we have already completed all the things. Now the next steps, the extraction phase is done. Now transformations and the load part is there. So for transformations, we'll be discussing the transformation things a little bit detailed in the different kind of transformations, or editing the inbuilt transformation script in detail in my next video. But here in this video, I'm going to discuss what Glue offers us. Glue gives us some kind of inbuilt transformation scripts, which I'm going to use for this video. So let me show you that how we can start this ETL jobs. Now I'll go to the ETL jobs. I'll create an add job. See my job, I'll say S3 to Redshift. I have to choose the IAM role. I'm choosing IAM role. So here the types, this is some kind of what kind of scripts we are using, what kind of language we are using. So this is Apache Spark. We can use this Spark streaming, and Python shell. For Apache, for Spark, this is something a proposed script generated by the AWS Glue, which we will be using. But if you see that, if I'll change into the Python shell, this is all these things about you, like the developer. This is Glue is mostly developer products, so developers can use the scripts in different languages. If they are using in the Python, they have to if the existing scripts are there, they can use it. But for this video, I am going to use it Spark, because I'll be using the inbuilt scripts given by the AWS Glue. The rest of the things will be will be same, because this S3 path and the temporary directory is going to create by the AWS Glue, and it will use the scripts, is inbuilt scripts. So I'm not choosing any okay, there is something called advanced properties. You can choose about the job bookmark. This you can see that if you just it will bookmark the last the previously run report. So if you want to run it again, you can use the bookmark thing. So I can enable these bookmarks. The rest of the things will be in default. I'll choose next. Okay, for data source, I know that this is my data source CSV. I'll choose next. I'll be going to the change schema. So next, for the data targets, I'll be using a tables which from the data catalogs. This tables is created by the crawler, so I'll be using this this table as a target. So you can see this, the matching is, there is a direct matching is there. There is a 4 columns here and the 4 columns here. So I'll click at the same job and edit scripts. Okay, for this exercise I am not going to change anything, so I'll be just saving and run job. So I can close this thing. You can see this things is now running, though I am already having this 4 rows, and there is nothing, very limited data, but it takes a long time. I believe Glue is doing some kind of internal work first. It will check some internal things and set up this load, and then it will load. Maybe the actual load will take some seconds, so it will take at least 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll be pausing this video and I'll come back once it's done. Well, at last this is succeeded. You can see this is succeeded. So it took a hell lot of time. Now if I'll go back to Amazon Redshift, okay, before that, let me tell you this, let me show you this. Okay, this is there is logs, there is no error, that's why there is no error logs. So for the logs, you can go to the CloudWatch. So it's already created some log groups that the crawlers, there is output log groups, there is a error log groups, that for the crawlers there is a crawler log groups. So normally it is very beneficial and very useful when you will get some kind of errors to understand the errors from the logs. Let me go to the Redshift now. I will check the rows and the table status. So we'll go to the Redshift. I'll connect through the editor. Okay, I'll change the schema to the public, and student is my table. Let me preview data. So I can see that this data has come. This is the data, the 4 rows data is already imported from my source S3 bucket CSV format. So this demo is finished here. In the next demo, what I am going to discuss, I'll be adding another one CSV file in my S3 bucket, and we'll be doing some kind of transformations, and by editing this this Glue automatic built up transform, and we'll be doing some kind of edit. We'll join 2 tables, and we'll be creating a single table at Redshift side. So please stay tuned and see my next video. Thank you.